Hey everyone, and welcome to this final video on jazz improvisation for beginners. We've covered a ton of ground in 9 videos, and so now we're going to condense all of that into a 1-hour practice routine, so I hope you're ready. We've covered a lot of ground, like I said, and I've tried to show you the best learning practices that I know of to maximize authenticity and expression on our instruments, which is the goal of being an improviser. But if there's one concept that I would like for you to glean from these videos, it's that each one of us has a unique voice to share with others. And by developing a confident musical voice, we become not only better musicians, but better people as well. So, first of all, what is the most important thing to do as musicians? You might have heard this before. Listen to great music. Just like to be a great athlete, you have to be eating great food and healthy food so that you have stamina and you feel good and you have energy. To be great musicians, we need to be always fueling ourselves with the inspiration of great musicians for our hearts and our minds and our ears to always be growing as a musician. Just like you are what you eat when it comes to food, you play what you listen to when it comes to music. So always be looking for new inspiration. So step 1 in our 1-hour practice routine is long tones, which I recommend for about 5 minutes. Now, what's the goal of long tones? The goal of long tones is to play with good tone quality and flexibility. So let's get started with doing some practicing long tones on a concert B flat. So let's hold a concert B flat with a tuning drone. Now let's manipulate the intonation sharp and flat. Now let's manipulate the dynamics soft and loud. And now let's play with different articulations, hard and soft. And now let's improvise on that one note, thinking of a word like an animal or a color. So those are a few ways you can work on long tones by emphasizing tone quality and flexibility. So I recommend working on long tones for about 5 minutes each day. And if you're worried that your audience might be hearing something different from what you hear as you play, try out some apps like Dolby On, which provide you with high quality audio recording that you can listen back to as you play. The next part of our practice routine is going to be 10 minutes of rhythmic exercises with scales. The purpose of practicing rhythms is to play confident rhythms with good time feel. We're going to incorporate this with our scale practice by taking a scale you're working on, let's say B flat major scale, and assign a rhythm to each note of the scale. I'll demonstrate. Now, use your metronome, of course, and prioritize doing offbeats and onbeats, triplets, lots of different types of rhythms. And then try playing shapes. So instead of just playing a rhythm on one note, play a rhythm on multiple notes. I'll demonstrate. So then you're creating rhythms with your scales, and this is going to help you have a better sense of rhythm and time feel, especially as you work with a metronome. So I would recommend that for about 10 minutes. Next on your practice routine, I would recommend learning a melody or solo by ear. The purpose of learning by ear is to create a mind-instrument connection so that you can hear things and you have ideas, and then you can also play them technically on your instrument. It's also important to imitate and assimilate your heroes that you like to listen to, and then you can eventually innovate based on what they played and make your own kind of new statement. So let's listen to a melody I'll play called CJ and Blues. Once we've listened to that a lot, let's try singing it. Da da ba da ba da ba ba. Once you can sing it, try to find the first note. Once you have the first note, sing that. Da. Then try to find the second note. Once you can find that, sing it. Da. And then try singing the whole melody. Da 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 ba da ba ba. And then play it. It's obviously not that easy, not that fast, but do a lot of singing and playing until you get the melody right. And then use those notes of the melody to try to improvise your own solo. So take those two notes and then try to take a solo. So you're learning things by ear, and then you're taking what you learn and trying to write or improvise your own solo. So I would recommend 20 minutes learning a solo or a melody by ear every day. So for the next 20 minutes of your practice session, I would recommend working on blues improvisation. We've worked on a lot of exercises regarding the blues, so I would just take a couple of them and work on those each practice session, 10 minutes each. So let's take, for the first 10 minutes, working on improvising with the blues scale, starting with just a few notes that we can play comfortably and expanding them over time. The goal of working with the blues scale is going to be getting that really earthy, traditional bluesy sound if you want that more in your playing. Now, let's spend the next 10 minutes working on chord permutations of the blues form. So we can take a permutation like 1 and 3, and we can play 1 and 3 on each measure of the blues, depending on the chord. The goal of this exercise is going to help you outline the changes. So if you feel like you're not really hearing or playing the chord changes when you're improvising, you can work on chord permutations to help incorporate that into your playing more. Now you'll notice certain things as you practice that, like what we call voice leading, where the one note of one chord goes by a half step to the next chord. So for example, the 7th of the one chord in the B flat blues can descend nicely to the 3rd of the 4 chord. So for me, or on a concert pitch, you're going from A flat to G. So these are little things you might figure out as you practice different chord permutations. Now, one thing you'll notice is that we're working with different notes for different exercises. We got the blues scale on one hand, and we have chord tones on another. So how do you incorporate them together? How do you bring it together? What I would recommend is working on them separately, and through listening to music and assimilating the knowledge of other musicians, try singing your own solos and see how you naturally incorporate the two. There are really no wrong notes. Thelonious Monk said the piano doesn't have any wrong notes. So don't worry as much about whether you should be playing blues scale or outlining the changes with the chord tones, but think how you can combine them in a musical way. And the only way to do that is to listen. In the last 5 minutes of your practice session, I would recommend improvising freely over the blues form or not over the blues form, totally free. And don't worry about exercises, no scales, patterns, shapes, none of that. Just take a solo and see where it goes. Be spontaneous. Allow your natural creativity to come forth and just have fun playing your instrument. So on that topic of having fun at the end of each practice session, I want to leave you with this thought. As musicians, when we practice, priority number one is always improvement, because we want to make the most use of our time. This seriousness, however, shouldn't preclude us from enjoying our craft and having fun. We spend an inordinate amount of time practicing as musicians and a relatively small amount of time performing. So we should take as much joy as possible in that practice time. It's not only going to help us enjoy our lives more, it's going to make us better musicians often and help us enjoy the process, which makes the process more effective. I've tried to structure these videos in a way that is easy to follow so it can minimize frustration, but also goes quickly enough so that we cover a lot of topics. I try to make them engaging so that you can follow along with the video and incorporate singing and improvising whenever I can to keep it fun. I hope you found these videos helpful, and I hope that you're able to apply them to your own practice sessions. Thank you very much.